Chapter 14 Yusui's purpose for coming to IAC at this time was obvious. For a while, Shiluo didn't know whether to get angry or to feel relieved. He was so tired that he just sat down on the stairs and lit up a cigarette. Zhao Feng had on a bitter expression. You should have guessed it already. Whispers here to talk about you. Didn't I say this was going to happen? He still wants to buy you. I already guessed it. But, Zhao Feng hesitantly said, although club management isn't allowed to privately contact players of other clubs, everyone knows that there will still be some hinting of transfer fees and such in private. It's human nature. What I want to know now, has Yusui already made you an offer? Shiluo smoked his cigarette and shook his head. Zhao Feng didn't believe him at all. He asked closely, he really hasn't. Maybe he implied a price and you just didn't catch it. I won't look into whether you two have been in contact privately. I just want to know how much he's offering you. He's already coming tonight. I need to know what's what so that I can be a bit prepared. Shiluo still shook his head. He didn't imply any price. I don't know. Zhao Feng looked distrustfully at Shiluo. Shiluo had a splitting headache. Would you believe me if I told you he won't give me a cent? Zhao Feng looked at Shiluo in surprise. How's that possible? Shiluo was upset and said, why are you asking if you don't believe me? Okay, I'll treat it as if he hadn't contacted you, so why don't you tell me what you want? Zhao Feng also sat on the stairs. Would you like to stay in our club or go to Whispers? I'll let you in on a secret. Whispers going to go about this the hard way. We made some inquiries. Instead of buying a ready-made team to grab a spot in the league, he's preparing to form his own team to fight through the secondary league to earn a spot. Zhao Feng gave Shiluo a warning glance. That is to say, if his new team loses in the qualifiers, his team will be stuck in the secondary league for the entire season. You should consider this risk yourself. Master Shi, you have already changed hands twice before and you might feel your situation's kind of miserable, but have you actually experienced real misery? You know those players who are obviously capable but can't climb up because they're forced by their black-hearted bosses to stay in the secondary league. Those guys aren't any less capable than you players here. Maybe they don't have enough commercial value, or maybe they offended someone from the top, or it may just be because they're playing a striker and the league's overflowing with them already. They clearly has the ability to play for a first-line team, but they can only run around the second league teams, playing intercity competitions. Have you ever seen an intercity match? Do you know there are times when they can't even sell a single ticket? In the entire stadium, there's only the players' parents watching. Zhao Feng let out a heavy sigh. Those players who can never appear on stage, they're the ones who are really miserable. Evil, there's nothing disastrous about your career. What are you miserable for? Do you think about where you debuted? You debuted in FS, the former esports mecca. You were still a minor and you made your debut at FS. Then you went to NSN, another first-class first league team, and then you came to RIAC. Shiluo smoked his cigarette in silence. Each team worse than the last. Isn't this miserable? Zhao Feng's chicken-blooded zeal was coldly doused by Shiluo and he suddenly coughed. IAC was indeed inferior to the previous FS and NSN. Zhao Feng held himself back until his face was thoroughly red, but he still didn't say anything. Okay, let's not talk about this. Zhao Feng continued to follow his gut. I'm only telling you these just to help you assess the risks. In my opinion, Whisper's move is very unwise and you have to consider this. Shiluo wore his usual expression. Risk. Him going to the qualifiers would be like a full-leveled account going to bomb the novice village. What risk? Zhao Feng was embarrassed. You have to admit, there is still that possibility, right? Every game carries the risk of losing. It's not like Whisper has never lost a game, but, I don't understand what he's planning. He's not short of money. There are so many bottom teams. They're all just losing money holding on to their place in the league. So long as he's willing to buy, I know of at least 2 that he could easily get. Directly buying a team to secure a place in the first league would save a lot of trouble and he won't need to compete in the qualifiers. Shiluo's lips moved. He knew why Yusui was doing it this way, but he was too lazy to enlighten Zhao Feng. There is no point in 2 people who follow different ways to take counsel in each other. Zhao Feng waved the matter away. Fine, let's not to mention this. If you're not afraid of going to a secondary league team, then what can I say? Now let me ask you, Do you really want to go to Whisper's team? Shi Luo kept silent. Zhao Feng sighed. I know. If he so much as crooks his finger a little, you'll go. The point Zhao Feng was still at a loss about was the money. So how much did he give you as a signing fee? Give me a number. It's not like we can't discuss this. As long as it is within the scope of what the club can bear, I'll help you talk to management. Isn't this just about who can pay more? I admit that the signing fee that our club has given you for the past 2 years is a bit on the low side. But you agreed to all this. This time last year, I also asked you if you wanted to sign on for a contract that had a longer duration. That way, I could go to management and negotiate a special hire contract for you. But you refused, right? Mentioning the past, Zhao Feng hated iron for not turning into steel. If you'd listened to me, your signing fee would have been raised long ago. You clearly know how much I'd like to have you stay with us. Ah, no. Is the reason why you keep signing 1-year contracts because you were just waiting for Whisper to come back? Shi Luo pretended not to hear the last sentence. He looked up. Should I have signed on for 3 years? Shi Luo's head hurt too much. He didn't want to go around in circles anymore, and simply said, the reason why you're so cautious now, the reason why you still haven't turned hostile on me is simply because there's only 2 more months left on my contract. After 2 more months, I can go wherever I want. You can't control me at all. Zhao Feng was at a loss for words. Shi Luo raised his eyes. Had I listened to you and signed for 3 years for a higher signing fee, after I've indentured myself to you for 3 years, would you still talk to me in such a kindly manner? During my short stay in FS, I learned one thing. It's a lesson engraved in my bones, and I don't dare forget it even for a single moment. Never ever sign a contract for more than a year. Shi Luo took out another cigarette and held it between his lips. He said coldly, once the deed is sold, you have no freedom left. Zhao Feng knew that he wouldn't be able to deceive Shi Luo and could only say, all right then. So you're sure we won't be able to come up with a higher signing fee than Yusui's, so you're definitely going to go with him? Shi Luo wasn't in any mood to repeat himself. I said, he didn't offer me a price. Okay, I understand. You'll go no matter how much he offers. It's good that you've made things clear. Now, I can continue to talk to about how I propose you leave. Zhao Feng changed faces faster than flipping a page in a book. I really want to have you stay, but we also need to respect your decision. Now this situation, I have a way to let neither of us suffer a loss. What do you think? Right now, Shi Luo just wanted to go to his room to sleep. He massaged firmly the space between his eyebrows. Say it. Whispers rich. I'm sure you know this. So my transfer fee is your signing fee, and we can't afford any less. Zhao Feng looked at Shi Luo's expression and hurriedly said, it's not all about the money. This is also to see whether Whisper really values you or not. If he's going to begrudge the singing fee, then just how well would he treat you in the future? Shi Luo nodded vigorously. You're right, can you hurry up? I have a headache. I'm getting there now. Zhao Feng said hurriedly, my plan is when he comes this evening, I'm going to say that we're not willing to let you go. Then, I'll bargain with him. You just have to keep quiet and not say a word. Your current signing fee is 8 million a year. We can't hide this from him and we'll raise the price from this. I'll help you jack up the price. Zhao Feng's eyes glowed. If he wants you, he can only give a higher price than mine. I'll stop when the price goes up to around 15 million. In this way, I won't do you a bad turn. 70% of the amount higher than 8 million counts as your own transfer fee. The remaining 30% goes to me. How does that sound? Shi Luo raised his head. His forehead had turned red from being rubbed so much. He grinned. Are you asking me to collude with you, to cheat him of his money? Tisk. Zhao Feng waved his hand. How could this be considered cheating? Then wouldn't it mean he also cheated you before? Let's at least get back the money he sold you for, right? Shi Luo smiled. Manager Zhao, have you forgotten again? I only have 2 months left in my contract. Wouldn't it be better if I just wait for 2 months and talk to them on my own? Then, the entire amount would go into my bank card instead. What kind of price would you be able to negotiate if you went there yourself? You have to set yourself high. You have to make him think that I'll pay you a high price to have you stay. And besides, you certainly wouldn't want to get into a fight with him over money, right? Me, this vile and evil man, would be the most suitable to handle this. Zhao Feng didn't feel that he was doing anything reprehensible. He rubbed his hands. Moreover, whispers rich. It's fine. Shi Luo stood up. Do what you want. Zhao Feng's face lit up with happiness. So, are we agreed? Shi Luo said nothing and went upstairs. Shi Luo went into his room and dove into bed without taking a bath or even changing his clothes. He hadn't slept all night. He was extremely sleepy and tired. He finally got rid of Zhao Feng and got in bed, but he couldn't sleep. His head was filled with thoughts of Yu Sui. In the 2 years he hadn't seen him, Yu Sui had changed a lot. He was a lot quieter, and he didn't like talking anymore. When he was at FS, Shi Luo was most afraid of Yu Sui when he wasn't talking. Yu Sui before talked a lot. When he suddenly said nothing, it meant he was about to get angry. In the few months he'd been at FS, Shi Luo had gotten into a lot of trouble. Yu Sui would turn a blind eye on the little things. But for the big matters, Yu Sui would watch Shi Luo silently, thinking about how to deal with it. Whenever this happened, Shi Luo would pretend to be indifferent, but in his heart, he would be panicking. He was worried that Yu Sui would throw him, this substitute that had almost no chance of taking the stage, back to school. Shi Luo was all too familiar with that expression of Yu Sui's. He'd look at you silently, but his heart would be in a spectacular mess. Now, since their reunion, Yu Sui seemed to always have on that expression. It's when he's hiding a great deal of things that he would keep quiet instead. In the past, Yu Sui would still lose his temper. He'd swear up a storm, filled with all sorts of obscenities that were beyond unpleasant to hear. Now, he probably won't. Over time, there are a lot of things that can no longer be explained clearly. In the end, thousands of words will inevitably converge into a common phrase: forget about it. Before, Shi Luo thought Yu Sui had dismissed him, had said, forget it, about himself. He never thought Yu Sui would choose to go about this the proper way and talk to Zhao Feng. The terms of the bet clearly could have just remained valid. No matter whether it was before or now, Shi Luo always provided the best solution to Yu Sui. Too bad he never wanted it, not even once. Shi Luo buried his face in his pillow. FCK, Shi Luo fell asleep in a daze and woke up not long after. He glanced at his mobile phone and found that only an hour had passed. Shi Luo went to sleep again, and woke up again, this time, after 2 hours. Shi Luo clearly hadn't dreamt anything, but he was awakened repeatedly. He was left with no choice. He took a painkiller and fell asleep again. The painkiller gradually took effect. The headache from the hangover was gone. But after tossing and turning, he still couldn't fall asleep. He glanced at his mobile phone. It was just 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Shi Luo got up and took a cold shower. He took a look downstairs. His teammates were playing a training match in the training room, and Shi Luo's substitute from the second team was in his seat. It was too late to join the training match, and he couldn't sleep anymore. Shi Luo then just went to the second team's training room, found an open seat and started a live broadcast. Shi Luo was already in a bad mood to begin with, and in his first match, he met with a moronic sniper teammate. Both Shi Luo and his sniper teammate had taken a head. Without waiting for Shi Luo to upgrade his accessories, the sniper began to type like crazy on the team chat, telling Shi Luo not to use the public economy. For a moment, Shi Luo thought he had read it wrong. After confirming that the sniper was warning him against spending the public economy, Shi Luo sneered. He immediately bought the matching upgraded bullets. In passing, he also upgraded all equipment and accessories, regardless whether they were useful or not. Upon seeing this, his sniper teammate lost it, cursing in the chat. Shi Luo was only too eager to find someone to spray. He set aside his mouse and immediately cursed up a storm against the sniper. It was only 10,000 yuan. That's hardly even a penalty. Shi Luo continued the game while spraying, and his sniper teammate withdrew from the match in less than 10 minutes. Shi Luo let out a sigh of relief. In the team chat, he promised his teammates he could win this match even without a sniper. What's with that temper? Without him noticing, Zhao Feng had come over. He looked at the computer screen and said helplessly, I don't blame you though. This is one of those little things that are bad about being a pro player. They can only be sprayed but can't spray back. Too bad you'll have to pay again. Shi Luo had on a frosty expression. They can find me all they want. Look how lenient our team is. When you violate the rules, you'll only be fined but won't get scolded. There's not even an extra fine. Don't you know? In many other clubs they'll deduct bonuses after players violate the rules. Zhao Feng saw a gap and stuck a needle in. It's not too late to regret it now. Before, in FS and NSN, did they deduct? Shi Luo shook his head. I don't know about NSN. They have the strictest management among the teams. They can't even swear during training. I was a benchwarmer at the time. I didn't have the opportunity to violate the rules and I've never seen anyone violate it either, so I don't know. Shi Luo said dully. FS, Zhao Feng was curious. What about FS? Shi Luo looked down. It was common for players in FS to curse and rain down verbal abuse when they played, but they're rarely punished. Zhao Feng couldn't believe it. How's that possible? Even if it weren't on a live broadcast, your teammates would take a screenshot of it and report it, right? Shi Luo said. Side accounts. Zhao Feng hesitated. With the way you guys play, in high-level matches, someone would know that you're professional players. It's not completely safe even when you use a side account. It's safe. Shi Luo hesitated, and didn't feel much like saying it, but he still did. There was a time when Yu Sui had been cursing someone out. He swore so much that the other player threatened to report. Yu Sui said. Zhao Feng was very curious. What did he say? Shi Luo couldn't bear to recall, and it was a moment later before he said, Laozi's main account is FS Team's Chen Huo. Let's see if you've got the guts to report it. Zhao Feng. PFFT. At the time, the way Yu Sui did it so naturally and matter-of-fact completely astonished Shi Luo. It was a long while before he could even muster a reaction. But after a long while, Shi Luo gradually figured out the order in the madness. When spraying, the players would use the name of whoever wasn't in the training room. Yu Sui and Chen Huo trained the least and so they were the ones most often used as scapegoats. Later, he too had been led astray and he'd also declare someone else's ID when he cursed someone in-game. Shi Luo's mouth twitched unconsciously and couldn't help smiling. Manager Zhao. The training room door was pushed open, and an IAC staff member looked in. Someone's here to see you. Shi Luo's smile disappeared. He's here. Zhao Feng got up. He adjusted his suit, and whispered to Shi Luo. Don't drop the ball, watch me raise the price for the both of us. Shi Luo followed silently behind Zhao Feng. No one could have guessed that after only a single night, he would change shape in a single shake and become Zhao Feng's dog, helping him to jack up the price. Shi Luo lit a cigarette. In his heart, he said, you asked for it.